We're live. What's going on? We're live.
What
How's
happened?
everybody doing? We are live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. I wonder how many people are watching on the Facebook. Which reminds me, I need to check Facebook and see if I put out that we are a top 10 pod. I rarely put stuff on Facebook, but I put out we are a top 10 podcast. I want to see if there was any interaction with it. Justin, how are you?
Hey, Bobby Skinner, doing good, doing well, getting excited for Sunday. They don't have me fully back in yet, but in terms of the importance of this Sunday's game, it's very, very important. So we win it, and everyone's back. We lose it, and it's a little bit of a different story. Dallas is a good team, but it's a divisional game. It's in Dallas. Anything can happen. Jason Garrett always feels like they're big gumption games for him. So we shall see. How are you doing, Bobby Skinner?
I'm doing all right, but I'm actually a little frustrated because and I've been seeing Daniel Jones has been getting gassed up this week. You know what I'm saying? And deservedly so. He's played well this season, whether it's it's the PFF people, the analytics people, or the film people. They're all this week talking about wow, Daniel Jones looks pretty good this year. And we're 1-3. That's so freaking aggravating that he looks good this year and we're 1-3. We should, and it's not because we played really good teams and fought hard. It's we lost to the Falcons. We lost to the Falcons, and we scored 14 points against the Atlanta Falcons. That's so frustrating, And it's not it'd be one thing if Jones was balling and the defense has just totally sucked. But it's the defense wasn't horrible, but they only they held Denver in check for a while, and then at halfway through the third quarter, it just kind of things went off the rails. So it's we've, held teams to enough points to win with our, if we just score a decent amount of offense, Washington not. But it's just so frustrating that Daniel Jones is balling. And I want to be prouder of it. But it's at 1-3, it's how much can how much can we strut around at 1-3?
And we're still 20th in points per drive.
Yeah. And 23rd in just total points overall.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating, and if it was like this last year, you would take it as all right, it's still a rebuilding team, but it's right now, it's we should not be a rebuilding team. And Mr. Chicken even says 2-2 at worst. 2-2 would feel a ton better than 1-3.
Oh yeah,
because then we're one game back out of the Cowboys. This game is for a share of first place. But right now, it's the way that Dallas is playing. It's man, really our only hope is that Dak Prescott gets hurt. That's the only way I think we can win this division is if the Cowboys just go off the rails. But I guess if you win this game, the conversation does change a little bit because Dallas does have a way of, imploding when things are going well.
Yeah. And the Panthers traded for Gilmore, and we play them in 2 weeks. It was a trade, right? It was initially reported that Gilmore was released. It was released, but I mean, that's basically releasing. Why we traded away Marcus Golden for a 6th-round pick.
Yeah.
The Patriots traded away a former defensive player of the year for a 6th-round pick. Did he just get bad?
He wasn't even playing, though.
He wasn't even playing? So, I mean, did he just get bad?
I think, I don't know. I honestly have been kind of checked out from it today. And then I saw Jalen Smith was going to the Packers, or he's most likely going to the Packers. But
yeah.
All right. So, how are you feeling? I already did all that. So I guess we can start answering some questions, which is what this is about.
Gilmore wasn't that bad, at least from everything that he was allowing. He didn't even play at all this year.
Yeah, he's injured. I think he was on the PUP list all throughout camp too.
Bizarre.
Mr. Chicken says Garrett always goes aggressive against Dallas. At least he did both games last year. Yeah, and it's I joked. Maybe not a total joke, but I'm what? Maybe Jason Garrett is lazy because it seems like when he plays Dallas, when there's a lot more, personal, more person, a very personal thing for him. It's man, those seem to be his best offensive game plans. But hey, we had our first 300-yard passing game under Jason Garrett last week. Our first 400-yard passing game under Jason Garrett. Maybe we could get our first 30-point game under Jason Garrett versus Dallas because Dallas's defense is certainly better. But it's not a good defense, and I saw research Rick put out they've given it the most big plays this year on defense, and
I can check that.
They are relying a little bit on turnovers from Quandre Diggs, and Daniel Jones hasn't thrown an interception this year, and the Saints had 6 going into this past game. So it's definitely a winnable game, but I feel like this offensively we have to look at it as a shootout. And I don't want to turn this into a whole Dallas preview, but I don't even know where I was going with that.
Dallas has allowed.
I'm tired.
Dallas is ranked 24th in the league in allowing explosive pass plays. So they've allowed the 8th most. And then let's see, for runs, they've allowed runs. They're a little bit better. Yeah, they're a little bit better with the run. Yeah, they're top half in the run. So they are capable of allowing some explosive pass plays. And the Giants last week produced 7 pass plays of 20 plus yards. And they overall, that was best for the fourth best explosive pass rate in the league last week. So you got to do it again. I mean, you can't have, Denver game off, Washington game on, Atlanta game off, Saints game on. You can't have this on-off switch. You kind of have to keep the gas down. Keep that accelerator down, going down to the floor. Keep this explosivity going. Don't rest on your laurels of the previess week.
Yeah. Max Webster says, "How concerned are we about Leo and AT injuries?"
Ooh, good conversations.
Well, Andrew Thomas is my guy. Leonard Williams is your guy. So I guess we can talk about our respective guys. I'm not worried that I'm not worried that Andrew Thomas is going to be bad now, but it sucks. It's I want him to continue to be dominant, and an injury could hurt that. You know what I'm saying? Now, his injury last year was not the reason for his struggles. I know people bring that up in a defensive Andrew Thomas. That's not what it was. Not the ankle that had him being not good in the first half of the season. But I don't know. I think Andrew Thomas will play through. I mean, he looked hyped after the game. That video of him and Jones coming off the field. They both finished the game, so I feel all right. If they didn't, if one of them didn't finish the game, I'd be a little more worried.
Yeah, I agree. We don't really know the severities of the injuries, and that's Joe Judge, and that's the NFL, and there's no more probable and there's questionable, but there's no more probable. So everybody's just questionable or doubtful, and AT and Leonard Williams, since they finished the game last week, they're going to be questionable. That's how they're going to be listed on the injury report. So I'm not concerned about Leonard Williams. Thought Leonard Williams had a really good game. I mean, Nick Filata was the guy that put together the little highlight reel for Leonard Williams from this past weekend, and he's making plays that aren't seen within the box score, but he's making them on film, and that's what I know he's expected to do more, but he's a good player, and he's continuing to show that. So
yeah. I don't think anyone. Well, actually, some people, but no one's argument against Leonard Williams this year has been he's not a good player anymore. But we talked about this going into 2020, and it's he does need to stuff the box score a little bit too.
Yeah,
he is expected to do that. Didn't we score 34 last year in Dallas? The team did, but we had a pick 6 from Kyler Fackrell. So The offense hasn't scored 30 points in a game.
Offense scored 27.
Let's see. What do we got here? Refs robbed. I don't view that as. Yeah, we have a holding penalty? I don't think the refs robbed us. I don't think they helped us, but there was probably holding penalties that they missed with us and everything. Let's see. Giants defense won't stop Dak on Sunday. Giants offense needs to play out of their mind. Yeah, that's the the Panthers are a good defense. The Dallas scored 30 something on it. Tampa's got a good defense. Dallas scored on them. They'll Tampa they got a turnover by CeeDee Lamb dropping a ball and it turning into an interception. Dak is playing out of his mind. They are just talented everywhere on that offense. Their offensive line is good again. Their running game is rolling, and they have a 3-headed monster at wide receiver. It's Joe Judge said in his press today, they got a wheel of weapons. You spin a wheel and they've got a weapon out there. So they are even their backup running back and Tony Pollard is really good. So they were 2019. They were the number 1 offense in the NFL. You know what I mean? So they were a really good offense. It's just they were underperformed, and then Dak would not play great against some of the top defenses. But he's playing great right now. So, this is. So we play the Rams, we play the Bucks, we play the Chiefs. Dallas might be the toughest one out of those right now for the Giants. You know what I mean? Does that make any? Maybe that's offensively, it might be tougher. Like, they worry me more offensively than Tampa does. I know the Rams are balling right now, but they worry me more offensively than the Rams because I think the Rams are a little more built on scheme than they are necessarily players. And I think Patrick Graham can, like, he did well against the Rams scheme last year. I know Stafford changes things, but it's, it like they kind of got brought down a little bit versus the Cardinals. And then the Chiefs have a bunch of turnovers. So that would be like your saving grace then. But the Cowboys are taking what's given in front of them extremely efficiently, which could be a problem for the Giants defense.
Dak did not have a good game last year before he went out. Like, remember last year, the Dallas Cowboys, their offense was setting the world on fire because their defense was really bad. And why Dallas is much better this year is their defense isn't that putrid as it was last year. But Dak was setting the world on fire. And, we went into Dallas, the game that he broke his leg. And before that, he was not having a good game. His CPOE was like minus 4.4. So really, I'm not going to say that, I'm never going to say that Dak's not going to have a good game because Dak is playing much better at a much higher level right now than he has in his entire career. But if they can unlock what they were doing last year, again this year, that would definitely be a big help. That's the goal. Replicate what you did last year because we were winning by a couple scores, and then Andy Dalton comes in, throws a few back shoulder fades on the sideline, and Dallas wins.
Yeah, we had the Kyler Fackrell interception, pick six. That was obviously huge, and then got a stop after that, and then we were up 14-0 in that game, and that was the game the Giants' running game kind of started rolling too. Yes. So remember how bad the running game was last year going into that game, and then I remember a tweet. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're running the ball, and I want them to continue to run the ball.
That's the game in which they started Caden Smith running that power O, right?
Yeah, and the Cowboys. I'm telling you, there's probably been worse defenses than last year's Dallas defense, but I don't think there's ever been a more undisciplined defense than Dallas's defense last. They were and that's why I was, before the season, everyone was gassing up Washington. I was like, sure, but it's like, well, Dallas is my fear because that offense, with Dak, can get rolling, and their defense, all they have to do is just play their gaps, and they'll be like 30% better than what they were last year. If Dan Quinn just coaches them to be like, hey, don't be an asshole when you're playing, defensive tackle or linebacker. It's like, well, then they could get a lot better. They didn't even need to add players. So, Joe Escobar, Skins appreciate the learning report. AT is balling. We just need a right tackle and then focus on edge rushers. Can we get O-line depth for Ingram? No, if you're trading Ingram, you're not getting anything back. Maybe depth, but I won't want any more O-line depth. If we're trading Ingram, I want a draft pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. At this point, what is a player going to do for you?
Here's a good question for you: is PG Patrick Graham blitzing more or less than 2020 so far? So I want you to answer that.
Blitz rate: Giants are 9th in the NFL in blitz rate, so that's more because they were around middle of the pack last year. So they are a top 10 team in the National Football League in blitz rate, but their pressure rate is like 28th. They are last in QB hits in the National Football League, and they're like 30th in sacks. So it ain't working. So those guys got to win up front, and they ain't winning.
How does YouTube allow? Did people see that comment in there? I just blocked the user.
No, I didn't see it.
Guys, Michael Bryan, I blocked him. They are blitzing more, and that's what's so frustrating. Is like it'd be one thing if like Patrick Graham was blitzing, and it's like, well, they're getting beat in man coverage that way, but they're getting there. It's like even when they blitz, they're not getting there. Like that's how bad the pass rush. Like anything short of being the Baltimore Ravens and just cover zero blitzing the piss out of teams is not getting pressure for the Giants. It's so frustrating how they cannot get pressure. Now there is things I want Patrick Graham to do differently, but it's like, man, I can't blame him for how bad this pass rush is. Like it is brutally bad right now. Like everyone's underperforming.
I don't understand how we're allowing a 75% completion rate when we're playing more man coverage, which, playing man coverage, it's lack of wide receiver separation. We have the corners, at least on the boundary and on the outside, we have the corners that can stick with these guys. I don't understand how we're allowing a higher completion rate than we did last year. 75% we're allowing. That's not very good. Because typically you would think if we're playing like a soft zone, that stupid phrase everybody likes to say, if you're playing zone, then you can allow a lot of underneath catches, but then you just come up and make the tackle. So I don't understand how we're allowing such a large completion rate when we're playing more man coverage. That I don't understand.
Yeah. Trying to understand. I'm thinking like the way like Jameis, they ran the ball so much. They don't trust Jameis in New Orleans. Heineke was just balling. Heineke, that game, it was like, why are we playing this soft? That was where the soft zone.
Yeah.
Bridgewater, they have those wide receivers. And then what was Atlanta? What were Matt Ryan's stats? I bet you Matt Ryan's stats weren't good.
Matt Ryan held onto the ball for a really long time, but his average intended air yards again was under 5. But he had like a 75% completion rate.
Right. Yeah.
So
what was the opposing team's completion percentage last year?
I can look that up.
And defenses catch on as the season goes along more so. Like, you see every year offenses, like there's certain offenses like, man, they are rolling out. And, the Seattle, for an example, like Seattle was unstoppable on offense at the beginning of the first half of last season. Then defense kind of figured out how to stop them. I think Patrick Graham might even expose them a little bit. And then, then they were having issues. So, yeah.
They allowed the 9th highest completion rate last year. The Giants did 67.6. The most a team allowed last year was 69.7%. Oh my God. So what is the Giants this year? And then compared to everybody else, they got to be number 1. They're number 2. The Jaguars are allowing a 75.2% completion rate. Giants are allowing 75. Tampa Bay is allowing 73.7. So that's not necessarily a referendum on, the Giants are allowing a lot of completions. They're playing bad, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just the sheer fact that they're still allowing yards after the catch. They're missing tackles, and they're not making plays on the football at the same rate they were last year. All of that kind of put together, that's the byproduct of what we're getting right now. And
Bobby D makes a good point. Says Bradbury's career year overshadowed our non-existent pass rush last year. This year it hasn't worked. Yeah, and I hate to put that on Bradbury because it's like it's not his fault that the pass rush is non-existent. But him last year, he was amazing. Like if you go and look at corners throughout the league last year, he was probably easily top 3. Like if there was 2 guys that were better than him, I would be surprised.
I think he led the league in pass deflections.
Yeah, like he balled out last year. It was unreal how he just shut down everyone's number 1. Like a good game against him was 70 yards. And then this year it's just been like he's just kind of been like he's been like a decent cornerback 1 this year. And like he let like that. I need to go and look up what his biggest completion allowed was last year, because that Marcos Callaway, I don't remember any play last year coming even close to that. Like maybe the biggest one I can think of was Juju Smith-Schuster in the opener, but even that was like there was a pick, the Juju Smith used a linebacker as like a pick in that play. So, but yeah, Bradbury's not playing like out of his mind. Amazing has been kind of not great.
He was second in the league in pass deflections last year. He allowed a 58-yard pass play against the Saints this past week. So now let me look at his
Chris Galore makes a good point. He shut down guys. Like we love the Bradbury free agency signing. So it wasn't like his year came out of nowhere. Like that free agency signing, I love it. And I still think it probably ends up being Gettleman's best free agency signing is James Bradbury. But it's just this year he hasn't been all out dominant, and it's kind of let the team down.
The longest pass he allowed last year was 28 yards, and so
was that Juju Smith-Schuster?
I will try and look. There's a part of my computer screen I can't see. Yeah, Bobby, I think we've had this discussion.
Gosh, my memory is amazing.
No, we've had this discussion before where yes, like we looked back to week 1, that was the longest play, because there was a play I think sometime this season where didn't he allowed a 25-yarder against Denver, and we were like, oh, that was a pretty long play for him. So there you go. Adoree Jackson has been nice. I imagine where we would.
Yeah, there was an Adoree Jackson question in there. Bobby D says, "What do you think of Adoree so far?" I haven't noticed him much.
That's good.
We got asked the question on our mailbag today who was like the defensive MVP, and both of our answers were Adoree Jackson. Now he hasn't been perfect, but he's been really solid. Like we've definitely noticed that our cornerback 2 has been upgraded severely.
Yeah.
Like here's the thing is like we play man, and no one really talks about us playing man coverage a ton because like they're doing an all right job at it. You know what I'm saying? Like if we had played man coverage and we're getting killed by it, people would be like, why are we playing so much man coverage? Why are we playing so much man coverage? But we are playing a decent amount of man. We're not the Ravens, but we're playing a decent amount of man coverage, and people are still kind of talking about the soft zone. So that should tell you something. Who would you have Adoree cover against Dallas? Haven't thought about that, and that should be something we talk about on the show tomorrow.
CD.
So you put him in the slot?
Sure.
Bradbury?
Yes.
I would put Bradbury on Cooper. I know Bradbury hasn't been all-world this year, but he did shut down Amari.
You're going to put Rodarius Williams on CD Lamb?
I don't know what we're going to do. That's the issue. They are a wheel of weapons. So
I would do. Adoree is the fastest corner that we have straight line speed, and CD's like just the biggest playmaker. So I would put CD on. I would put Adoree on CD, and then everybody else kind of. I mean, Rodarius is naturally an outside corner.
Yeah, so, I agree with that. I agree with that. We're going to talk about that on the show tomorrow. Who's covering tight end? It looks like Peppers might not play, which makes this. So I think Julian Love will get some reps. I mean, Julian Love got a decent amount of reps this last week. They were already using him before Peppers went down, using him a little bit in the nickel. But I think Julian Love will probably take over those Peppers reps.
Big Blue in the Bronx, Alex makes a good point. So if Michael Gallup's on IR, Cedric Wilson's actually
IR.
I guess.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Because I've seen Cedric Wilson a decent amount. Even when Gallup was on the field, like Wilson and Gallup, Wilson has been coming in splitting reps. I think he's like a single digit number. He played very well in the preseason for Dallas. Number 1, yeah. So played very well, and he's not a bad ball player. So just because Gallup's out, I mean, Dallas wide receivers are very, very good. We think we have a good problem at wide receiver. I mean, they certainly have one over there.
Rest in peace, Yankees 2021 season.
Yeah, rest in peace.
I thought I had a very funny tweet this morning because Daniel Jones won NFC Offensive Player of the Week. Yeah, and basically like all the beat reporters, like 5 other people like who have like bigger Giants pages had tweeted it. So I was like, okay, I don't want to just tweet it like all those guys do because So I was like, how do I make this creative? And I did. I was like, Yankees fans, your day is about to get a lot better. Daniel Jones is the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. So most people thought it was funny. You had a couple people being like, a meaningless award? Stream like that. Cashman coming to the Mets. That would be pretty interesting. Where are you at with that? I definitely want Aaron Boone gone, but I don't know if I necessarily want Cashman gone. No, because I know Cashman's been part of so many great years that it's hard for me to let go of him.
No, I mean Cashman's done a lot more good than he's done bad. What really needs to happen? I could even care less about Boone, but it's similar to the Giants in a way, except the Yankees are just a lot better in a lot of other ways. It is a philosophical way that the organization works, where they just don't value games during the regular season. And frankly, as a casual baseball fan, the Yankees not caring about regular season games, it made me not care about regular season games. Like if the Yankees aren't going to trot out their best lineup, almost every day and try for the majority of their series, I'm not going to spend money to go see them. And I'm not going to watch. And I will pay attention to the postseason. They will lose. And guess what? I won't be as emotionally invested and I won't be as upset. So that's what baseball did and the Yankees did to them. And I know the Yankees are the exception. That's what the Yankees did to themselves this year. And that's why football is awesome, because every Sunday is the end of the world.
I just can't wait I love when the Yankees fire managers. Sean G. John, it is crazy. Like if you go back and look at how many times Billy Martin was hired and fired. Sean G. John Ross should get a bunch of snaps. The defense has to shade his way a bunch because of the speed. Here's something I'm scared about. I'm scared about the John Ross letdown. I think he had the big play. He had 3 catches for 77 yards and a touchdown. If Giants fans are mad about Evan Ingram and Darius Slayton's drops, Let me show you John Ross's highlights of drops. I mean, they are the most unreal. Like you're mad at Slayton for dropping that throw in the end zone. Like there was balls where it was like John Ross had a million years to track and he wasn't able, and he dropped them. So I definitely want to see a good amount of John Ross, but I do not view like, okay, so we talked about it on the podcast and I had a tweet about like, I don't know what Slayton's role is going to be. John Ross doesn't come into that a ton. It really has to do with Kadarius Toney and the Giants running a bunch of 2 tight end sets. Like it's Kadarius Toney needs to play over Darius Slayton. That's my take. Now I think John Ross should get 10 to 20 snaps a game, which is like that's a healthy amount of plays.
It is.
But that's where it's like, where does Darius Slayton fit in all of this? Because I don't think Darius Slayton's a player you just throw on the bench. But right now he might find himself in that. But at the same time, guys are not going to be healthy all year, and you know it'll figure itself out that way.
Yeah, John Ross got 28 snaps this past Sunday. That's with running a lot of 12 personnel, and you know, really, it's not that hard, at least in my opinion, to like when a guy gets in the game, calling a play where he's the number one option, right? Like if John Ross gets in there 12, 14, 15 snaps a game, there very well could be 3-4 plays where he's the number one option. Doesn't mean you go to him because he may not be open, but I don't think that's that difficult. Where I think that should be a priority, where even if the snap count goes down, there should be a couple plays per game where John Ross is that number one read. He should be because of his speed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And if he disappoints you and he drops a big ball, well, guess what? You kind of have the good problem where, guess what, John Ross, you're going to have to earn your way back into the rotation. You know what I mean? If you have that big drop, but until then, let it ride.
Yeah. Slayton's
had some big drops too. I know you acknowledged it, but Slayton has had some very big drops, and I don't think fans. I think you're overestimating fans' anger towards Darius Slayton.
I'm overestimating or underestimating?
I may have just said the wrong word. I think you're over because I think you think that fans are more mad at Darius Slayton than is actually true. Does that make sense?
I mean, I see people being like, Slayton shouldn't play at all anymore. Like John Ross should be clearly ahead of him.
I haven't seen that. But
Jones and Slayton do have a good connection. And, you know, you could say like, oh, well, does Slayton do a ton? No, not necessarily, especially with all they put on the team. But like there is a connection. And the best audibles from Daniel Jones have been, hey, we got press man coverage. We don't have the safety over the top. Darius Slayton is good at beating press coverage and getting over the top. And those have led to big plays. I mean, think about the big plays for Daniel Jones this year. Week 1 to Darius Slayton. Week 2 to Darius Slayton. Week 3, not to Darius. Darius Slayton gets hurt in the first game. So like the first 2 weeks, the big plays were all to Darius Slayton.
Yep.
You know, there was 2 completions and then 1 drop. And those were the converted big plays for the Giants in the passing game that weren't made from yak.
Yeah, and I don't know if Kenny Golladay has that same speed. He doesn't have that same speed to get ahead of that defender. It's a contested catch situation, which is why I still feel like we haven't fully unlocked Kenny Golladay because we still have never given him that contested catch situation. But he still has 11 receptions of 15 plus yards, which is tied for the league lead. Which, if you were to tell me that, like before I saw it by PFF, I would say you are crazy. That is a lie.
But it's not a lie. John Smith, there's going to be a week we finally go from 4th and short. It better be this week. We need to outduel the Cowboys to win. Yeah. Oh, yeah. If we're in 4th and short and Judge doesn't do it this week, it's like, come on, man. Like, what are we doing? It's like you talk about, field goals aren't going to win the game versus the Cleveland Browns last year. When in fact, if you would have kicked 2 field goals, they would have been down by 1 score with the ball at the end of the game. This week, out of all weeks, field goals are not going to win the game. So, yeah. Thomas Panicola, whose uncle was our baseball coach in high school. Since our pass rush is struggling, should we give Roche or Smith, when he's healthy, some reps since Jimenez has done basically nothing? Yeah, I mean, Quincy Roche is worse than O'Shane Jimenez, and he's really bad. And then Ellerson Smith, I don't know. I don't know what Ellerson Smith ever is going to be, if he'll ever be anything. Like I wasn't the biggest Ellerson Smith fan in the draft. I don't know what he's going to be. He is a project, so I'm not going to have any year 1 expectations for him.
I wonder if there's wonder, maybe this is a study we can do, or if there has been any work done. There definitely has, because I remember reading something about this. Is it even worth taking edge rushers past the second round? Is it even worth it?
I wouldn't. I can't give you a hot take because there's names that come to my mind who are really good.
Yeah.
So.
But it just seems like so much of the best edge rushers in the league, and maybe you can make an argument with every single position, but I feel like it's so top heavy with edge rushers of they're just top half of the first round picks.
No, I agree with the idea.
Don't rely on your third and fourth round edge rushers to be your top edge rushers.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I like the Ellison Smith pick, even though like he wasn't like high on my radar. Was like, well, if like he at least has the opportunity to be good, really good one. Like Ellison Smith, like do I think Chris Rumph, Rashad Weaver are going to be better pros than Ellison Smith? Yes, I do. But I do think Ellison Smith could be like he can be way better than what those guys could be. With Weaver with the athleticism and Rumph with the size and strength. So wasn't Tuck a third rounder? Matt Riley says. I think he was a second rounder. OC was a second rounder. So I don't think Tuck was a third rounder.
I think the game is different now, though. Game is much different.
Draft.
Game is different than what it was 5 years ago.
It was a third rounder.
Who was the third rounder?
Justin Tuck.
Okay. Game is different.
That's a cop out. You need to do more research on this. When is John Boy?
I asked it as a question.
I know, but you're dismissive of him.
I know. What about John Boy Media? When is
John Boy gonna make Joker shirt? I just feel like that would be scummy to use his nickname as a. Like I'm sure Kadarius Toney wants to do that for himself.
I was thinking about posting. I may do this at 8:00. Take a screenshot of like me listening to a young. Wait, I should make a meme. I don't know. I want to integrate a Young Joker meme with like the stats report video. I don't know. I have that idea.
Handed the ground defensive end on edge rusher. They're kind of one and the same. I think edge rusher, it just means 4-3 defensive end, 3-4 outside linebacker.
Sure.
That's the difference. See, I knew. So even if you're right about what you just said with the draft thing, is when you say something like that, everyone's going to start pointing out the guys that were late round picks who turned out all right.
Yeah, it's not about the exception. It's about like the entire body of work of 32 teams, not the few exceptions you can think of on.
It's why I hate draft season, because you get like, well, you could get those type of players in the second and third round. Like,
well, you can draft Tom Brady in the sixth round.
If they're okay, so let's say we go through the draft cycle this year, and there's a guard I like in the first round, and the first time that happens, someone says you don't draft a guard at pick 9 or whatever it is, I'm just gonna lose it on that person. Like I am going to like, and you know me, I don't like to lose it on people on social media. Like I just try and ignore them. But if I get that reply this year, that first person I'm gonna lose my mind on. I'm like, no, you need to shut your mouth. How many years can you watch this offensive line suck to say that, oh, we can't draft a guard?
Oh no! Now the talking point is going to be, oh, the line was fine with like 5 different starting guards this year. We don't need a guard.
Well, speaking of the draft, someone who covers the draft really well, we got
what's going on.
What's going on, man? Do you hate my? Where are you at with if? So when I say Elijah Vera Tucker at 11 last year, would you have?
I remember that. I was. Well, first off, I'm an LSU guy, so I was trying to get Jamar Chase. I was hoping that something would come out like a Laramie Tunsil kind of thing, and he would fall to us. But I would have basically bet on us getting either Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith. Obviously, that didn't happen. The whole trade thing happened. I think we ended up coming out pretty well, but I would have been upset if we took Elijah Vera Tucker.
All right, I'm about to lose on you now.
Now that I look back at it, it wouldn't have been a bad pick, but I kind of like what we got better because there's some really good interior offensive linemen coming up this next year.
Yeah, I like the trade down. It was, but when I told, and I'm gonna make you real happy. I did say my exception, who the one wide receiver I would take over Slater and Elijah Vera Tucker was Jamar Chase. I would have taken Sewell over Jamar Chase, but Jamar Chase was the one I would have taken over Slater and Vera Tucker. But I was very clear. It's like I want Slater and Vera Tucker over Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle, which is why, like, I remember when during the draft when it happened, the Eagles took Devontae Smith. I'm like celebrating, and our chat was losing their mind. Like, this is, and I'm sitting here like, yes, it happened. It fought. Like, I didn't think it could happen.
Were you one of those people? Are you one of those people that think he like won't last in the league?
Vera Tucker or
Devontae
who?
Smith.
I don't dismiss that, but I'm not going to just be. I can't just say, oh, he's 165 pounds, he's not going to last. You know. But I also can't dismiss the people who are like, hey, there's never been an NFL wide receiver less than like 180 pounds to be successful. I think he's playing really well for the Eagles right now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just had another 100-yard game. I think
he's
gonna be pretty good.
I mean, I would have celebrated a wide receiver, and it's something I can't believe we're doing the 2020 draft as soon as we bring you on. But I would have celebrated wide receiver. Like, I wanted wide receiver too. But it was like, I just want O-line more. And before the Giants signed Kenny Galladay, I was like, I want a wide receiver at 11. But then they signed him. So I'm going to put your channel in the chat. You do a bunch of Giants stuff, bunch of film stuff. So I know
appreciate you all for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. I know people will like your channel because it's we do some similar things. Yeah. Where are you at right now?
I started watching the O-line report, watching the stats report. Really good stuff this week.
Very nice. You didn't have to give Justin the compliment, but it's
I'm going to ask the question because I had the same question, Bobby Skinner, so I'm going to ask it. Diggy, welcome.
Yep.
Where are you right now with this football team? Are you kind of back in? Do they have to convince you to get back in? Were you ever off, even though you're 0-3? You're always a ride or die. Kind of tell us where you're at with this football team right now and where you're at with your brain.
It's kind of difficult because everybody was under the impression that if we were able to get good pass blocking and good play from Daniel Jones, we would be a really, really good team. And part of us probably thought that maybe Daniel Jones would take a step back. Maybe the offensive line would be like the worst in the league. But neither has happened, at least with pass blocking. The run blocking is it's awful. But the pass blocking is great. And Daniel Jones is playing great. And we're 1-3. So part of me says that the way that Daniel Jones is playing, we should have a shot in every single game we play. But part of me is saying that are those mistakes, those crucial mistakes, going to come back in the most crucial moments? Because I'm kind of on you all side with Jason Garrett. Shout out to Authentic. I saw him in the chat. I'm kind of on you all side with Jason Garrett limiting things. But even with him limiting things, I shouted out Authentic. I didn't finish my point. He's been a supporter of Jason Garrett. But even with Jason Garrett limiting things, we still had chances to win these games. And we've made crucial errors and crucial spots. Just like with the Saquon Barkley fumble. If we don't get that fumble back, we're all back to – and you guys haven't jumped off of the burning down MetLife Stadium. So –
look, someone replied to my tweet the other day of Daniel Jones stats at home and away, and it's like, oh yeah, we definitely need to burn this piece down.
It's awful. It's awful. I mean, I just have to see us not make these mistakes for a couple of games. If we can beat the Cowboys, I'm all in. Like, I'm all in and us like possibly winning this division, but I just have to see it.
I agree with you, and I don't want to be. But I know if the Giants beat the Cowboys and are 2-3 and are one game back out of the division because the Cowboys will have lost, I know it. I know myself, and I'm going to be just totally sucked back into this team. But for people will say I'm like too critical on people. It's like I try to give everyone a fair shot. Like with Jason Garrett. With Jason Garrett, people will say I'm critical. And like I was totally ready. I was excited. And when they drafted Kadarius Toney, I was like, this signals change in the philosophy. We're signing Kenny Galladay and Kyle Rudolph. It just felt like, okay, they're better players, so the offense will be better, but they're not changing anything. Kadarius Toney's like, oh, there's no possible way they drafted this guy and are just gonna play in regular. So
yeah, you know how happy that kind of like shuttle screen made me. To watch Kadarius Toney fake like going outside, come back inside on that screenplay. I'm like, they actually made an effort to get this guy the ball in open space. I really tweeted before the game we'll see Jabril Peppers catch some screens before we see Kadarius Toney do it. And we actually got him the ball in open space multiple times. I was really surprised about that. If we can do that, that's like, to me, 2 or 3 first downs that we didn't have before, just by Kadarius Toney touching the ball.
Yeah, and I like the way they've used him in motion. From the jump, I actually like that was if after Atlanta, if you asked me to say one thing nice about Jason Garrett, it would have been like I like the way they use Kadarius Toney in motion. And not just not just putting him in motion to give him the ball, but to take guys out of the box. So there's that, and it was nice to see because anytime a player is drafted, it's like, how does this translate to the pros? And I'm like, does this Kadarius Toney type player translate to the pros? And it was good to see this week. It's like, oh yeah, it does. Like what he does translates, and he's not just a gadget player. But this is my hope going forward is that this was the second most, I do that downfield concept tweet every week. This was the second most times they, ran plays like that only to the Ravens game last year. And everyone who watched all 22 talks about that Ravens game. Like, we didn't score points in that game, but Daniel Jones, he looked like he was figuring some things out and reading defense as well. And they do it in this game, and he has 400 yards. So it's like there's no way they go back and do what they did against Atlanta, Denver, and even Washington. Like, I know they scored points versus Washington, but it's like the Slayton touchdown was an audible from all curls from Daniel Jones. The read option was good, but it's like as much as I want them to do read option, like I don't think read option is like your philosophy. Like, is not it doesn't really change one way or the other about how I think you attack the passing game. I want you to do it, and if you don't do it, I'll be mad. But that's my only hope right now is like that. Hopefully, this past game was a kick in the ass. Like, we can't do things the way we have done the previous 19 games.
Yeah, I just think there's no way that we go back to doing that. We can't justify that. We can't justify that.
Diggy, I have a question. So you mentioned the running game, the run blocking's bad, and there are some people that want to put more or less the blame on Saquon, bad offensive line. I'm kind of in the middle of like, Saquon hasn't had the most efficient year. Past 2 games, he's looked a little bit better. Against the Saints, he averaged more than 4 yards per carry. So you watch film every week, just like Bobby. Maybe what's the percentage, if you had to put a percentage of kind of blame towards maybe Saquon inefficiency, offensive line being bad as a run blocking unit? Why is the running game maybe not worked in your eyes? What's the percentage of the shift of blame you would put it on?
I would say 30% Saquon, 20% tight ends, and then 50% offensive line. Because we've seen this last year, like even times where the offensive line blocked up perfectly, the tight ends were getting killed. And Caden Smith, am I muted or something? Or?
No, I was going to say bad tight end blocking is partly what birthed the O-line report. Because I remember week 1 versus Pittsburgh, I was like, a lot of times the tight ends were just screwing up the run game. The tight ends got
destroyed that first week. They were awful that first week.
Like that was a big part of the birth of the O-line report was tight ends being like, I'm tired of offensive linemen getting the blame for tight ends bad blocking.
Like a lot of times people don't realize that the tight ends are literally like the lead blockers because we don't use a fullback most of the time. So the tight ends are literally your lead blockers. And if they're getting blown up, it looks like the entire offensive line is getting blown up. But I'll definitely say most of it is definitely the offensive line. A couple of times Saquon just misses things, but I think he's been getting better with that since he's been back. So hopefully we'll start to just see Saquon make some plays just out of nothing like he did to win the game on Sunday.
Yeah.
I think we'll start to see a lot of things like that as he starts to get more comfortable, but I don't expect this offensive line to all of a sudden just become road graders. I don't expect it.
No, and I agree with the percentages. Maybe I tweak it like by a few, but I agree with that. Part of that is the issue with drafting Saquon is like, well, you kind of need the offensive line to be successful for him to be successful. But Saquon, like the first 3 weeks, did look really bad as well too. This past week he looked good, and I don't ever want to take away like Saquon's want to turn things into a big play. What I do want to take away is like sometimes just going forward will turn into that big play, and we saw with Wayne, like talking point with Wayne Gallman last year is like if he breaks that last tackle, it's big. Well, it's like Saquon does break that tackle, so I feel like if they got into his head and be like, look at this, I would seriously show him like a clip of 10 plays and be like, you see this? Wayne Gallman gets to the hold. If he breaks this one tackle, he's gone. Do that because guess what? You're gonna break that tackle, Saquon. Like if I would show him that and be like, you break those plays. So play like that in the first 5 to 7 yards, And then after that, man, go BU.
Yeah,
But then at the same time,
coming.
there's plays where he bounces it and turns into a 10-yard run, what would be a 1-yard run, and you don't want to totally take that away. You don't want Saquon to not be Saquon.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's so difficult to say how you tell Saquon to run, because you can tell him to take those open, take those 2-yard, 3-yard, 4-yard gains. But at the same time, there's been plenty of times where he could have taken those short gains, but he didn't, and he scored a touchdown. So I don't know. We just have to live and die with it. And that's why a lot of people didn't want him, because we have to live and die with it, because there's a ton of times where if we had in Wayne Gallman, for instance, we'd be on a 2nd and 7 instead of a 2nd and 12, because they block poorly on that on that first down. But instead of just taking the 2 yards, Saquon decided to try to make something out of nothing and lost 2 yards.
Yeah.
So we kind of get penalized for it, but the risk of making that big play is way too great. And that's why I think probably it'll be a lot better for us with these wide receivers making bigger plays now. Because if you have other people making bigger plays, you're not dependent on one guy to try to make big plays. And maybe that's why Saquon had his best game, because he didn't feel that pressure to try to do everything by himself.
And that's a great point, and that's why people like myself. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I like to think that the pass sets up the run. When you create good passing situations, and really, football is just a game of matchups, right? When you run the ball, you want to be smart. When you throw the ball, you want to be smart. And how are you going to produce the explosive play? How are you going to flip the game script? How are you going to stay on schedule? So the pass setting up the run, I think that will help Saquon Barkley. And frankly, I don't think that this is going to be an offense where like Barkley's going to be getting Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry like volume. You know what I mean? I think that's what we want because of the first round pick, and this guy's the savior. This guy's going to save us. That was the first draft pick that Gettleman made. I think we want that, but I think we have to kind of come to terms with, hey, the pass rate really, really high on early downs, the Giants, that's setting them up in pretty good situations. So kind of stick with that. And then whenever Saquon can get his opportunities, even if it's a negative play every once in a while, that won't hurt us. But also he can have that big play potential as well. So
is everyone else's screen glitching out?
No, it was you, Bobby. Your Wi-Fi. Your Wi-Fi's bad.
I'm about to post a video of it right now. It's me frozen, and it's Justin like a bobblehead.
Wow.
Nice, because I do talk with my hands, and I do bobble my head a lot.
I'm going to post it on Twitter.
Do it.
So can you guys see me right now, though?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, we can see you. Yep.
Okay. Can you see this orange chat on the screen?
Yep.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Okay. Number one. So I guess I'll just live with not really being able to see your guys' faces moving. Number one. Thanks. All right. I'm going to tweet this real quick because it's really distracting me. So I want Justin to see what I'm talking about. But number one, thanks for having my boy Diggy on, of course. Number two, Bobby, all learned reports need to be presented in tank tops.
Yeah, I agree.
Here's the thing: is the O-line reports are done at like 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Still 70 degrees.
But it's the coolest time of the day, and that's when my AC is like it gets at the coldest in here. So like I actually wore a long sleeve shirt in the O-line report this week. And then Justin, thank you for the stat report. I watched it and appreciate your work. Don't quit it. So thank you very much.
I won't quit.
All right. So let me catch up on the chat, see if we got anything. Williams and Thomas did not practice due to injuries. Why you look like license plate guy? LPG said someone at the airport on Sunday was like, "Hey, Bobby, like good win or something like that."
It's just the best.
I know. Which is like, man, have you guys never seen two people with long hair before? It's like we actually look very different besides the hair.
Stereotyping blondes. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah. Do all long blonde haired white people look the same? Like, come on, guys, stop stereotyping us.
Yes. Yes.
Saquon will eat off the RPO and screen passes, let DJ run more. What did you think about that Kadarius Toney triple option, and how excited are you to play that against Michael Parsons, who is going to crash at the QB or the running back?
He's definitely going to be able to eat. We'll have a couple of 20-plus yard runs from DJ. I'm expecting 2 or 3, because Michael Parsons is so aggressive, and he's been talking about, like, I think there was a fake post of Michael Parsons talking about Saquon But he talks about Saquon and how good he is all the time. So I know his like number one goal is to tackle Saquon for a loss. So I'm expecting DJ to take off a couple of times.
Yeah, this has now. I will give Dallas credit. Week 17 last year, they played the read option better than any team had ever played us. And that was with the whole Daniel Jones, Joe Judge, literally throwing the media off on purpose, saying that, oh yeah, he's going to be limited to the pocket. That was hilarious. This week. Yeah, and
that was really hilarious.
I remember being like, am I a homer for thinking that this could be fake right now? Because it's like Daniel Jones doesn't say anything to the media, and he's just going to give this away. And then Joe Judge is going to say in his presser, I wish he wouldn't have said that. And then they actually did throw them off by it. So
yeah, that's the Patriot way. I remember Bill Belichick went on literally a 30-minute press conference about how great the Jaguars are. This is when Blake Bortles was there, and he went for 30 minutes talking about how great their team was. And a report came out last year of him and Tom Brady will purposely fluff up the competition before every game.
They do that. I remember when they played us in 2019. I remember people for a day, a talking point was Bill Belichick fawns over Daniel Jones, and it's Bill Belichick
throws 4 interceptions.
Yeah, that
was his worst game as a pro.
Yeah, by far.
Was
that
it
in the Bucs game?
I would say the Bucs game, because at least that New England game is that defense was balling at that point.
And John Hillman was the running back.
John Hillman. I have a take, Diggy. I wanted to know if you agree. Has there been a running back in the 2000s that started a game for the Giants that was worse than John Hillman?
I went to high school with John. Don't do that to me.
I don't think there is.
The only guy that I would put below him is I blocked him completely out of my head, but the running back that fielded that kickoff in that playoff game against the Packers and ran out of bounds at the 3-yard line when we could have taken a 40-something yard penalty, I hate that guy more than I could ever hate John Hillman.
Who is that? Is that
we all blocked him out of our heads? Because
was that Bobby Rainey?
There we go.
Was it Bobby Rainey?
Yeah. The kick was going out of bounds, and he catches it like he's fielding a punt. Catches it before he can go out of bounds at the 3. And runs out of bounds with the ball.
I was a big Chris Rainey fan, so my dumb brain was maybe Bobby Rainey could be good, even though there's no relation. Did he? I don't know if he never started a game for us. He played for us. He didn't start a game for us. So I think my theory is true that there's never been a worse starting running back for the Giants in the 2000s, worse than John Hillman. I mean. Yeah. Golden Tate played that game, and then Golden Tate had a really nice catch in that game for a touchdown, which was one of actually Daniel Jones' better throws. Here's something. I want Daniel Jones to throw the ball to Kenny Golladay the way he did the Golden Tate.
I don't get it. I don't get that. He would throw high point passes to Golden Tate.
And Tate would make them consistently.
Yeah. But the thing is, if you look at his career, he was actually great at doing that for some reason at 5'9" or 5'10", but I don't understand why he felt so comfortable doing that with Golden Tate, but he hasn't given. I mean, we can blame Jason Garrett all day, but at the end of the day, Daniel Jones has to pull the trigger. And it's maybe this new and improved Daniel Jones, maybe Joe Judge tells him to do this, only throw it if someone has this much separation. But I would think that we would be throwing it to Kenny Golladay in traffic more than we do.
Well, the issue now this past game was that nothing is a high to low read, where it's all pre-snap, looking at alignment and stuff. And
I may have seen it one time where he looked at Golladay first.
Yeah, and I did a breakdown of it. Toney versus Washington, where it's they put Toney on a drag drive route, Shep on the crosser, and Golladay on the go, and it was a 3-level read, a backside sail, and it's it led to a 20-yard catch for Sterling Shepard because Golladay was covered with the safety, and it's do more of that type of stuff
and we did it all day Sunday.
Yeah, but even in that Washington game, there was a few times where he got targeted downfield, and that was, Jones balled in that game. But one of my critiques of him was, and Kurt Warner talked about it too, was or Losky, I remember said it last year talking about him, and after the Cardinals game, is you don't always have to make every ball perfect. Sometimes you just got to put it a little behind and outside for a guy like Kenny Golladay. You don't need to put it perfectly on his fingertips like you do most receivers. So,
yeah, I heard a rumor too. This is gonna be really quick. I heard a rumor from Paul Dottino on Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Oh boy!
He said he was talking to our wide receivers coach, Tyke Tolbert, and he said he was talking for minutes about how much he loved the Plaxico Burress back shoulder throws, and Tyke Tolbert just turns around and tells him, "I hate that play. I hate back shoulder throws." So we don't know if like he was just trying to troll Paul Dottino or if he actually hates the back shoulder. But that's bad news for Kenny Golladay if he actually hates that.
That's frustrating. And have you noticed last year when a team would jump off sides, it was like, all right, 20 yards back shoulder. We converted like every single one of those. Even with Colt McCoy at QB, like we can, it's like, why not? Like, why does the team need to jump off sides for us to try that? Like to get a 20-yard back shoulder. And I get the thinking behind it is like, well, it's
free play.
Well,
at least they actually give Daniel Jones the free plays. They never gave Eli those free plays ever.
Yeah.
Like
we could have had more last year if Cam Fleming didn't
just stop it.
Something that bothered me so much last year that Cam Fleming was that anytime someone would jump off sides, Cam Fleming would literally start jumping up and down, pointing. It's like, dude, just stay still. Let Nick Gates snap the ball, and we'll get a free play. Like it's a lot better than 5. Like you're gonna get the 5 yards regardless. But yeah, it's like do some back shoulders when they're not jumping off sides. But the mindset is like a wide receiver coach is like, it's a very like. I'm trying to think of the right way to describe it, but it's basically like I don't know. How would you describe it where like a wide receiver coach wouldn't like that? Because it's like I don't know. It's not perfect, I guess. It's very like old school, like draw in the backyard, like throw back shoulder, trusting one guy over a corner. Because there is risk to it. Because if a corner plays it really well, it can turn into a bad play. And they ran a bunch of those comebacks Jones rookie year for Slayton, and they worked. But then that Green Bay game, I remember they purposely put the safety over the top, and they had Kevin King trail on purpose. And
yeah, I remember that.
You remember that was a beautiful defensive play call by Green Bay. It's turn your head. That ball's going to be coming there on those deep comebacks. Like on that, like let the safety handle it over the top, and you play it. And it was a beautiful. I think it was Kevin King who intercepted it. So maybe they saw some stuff like that and wanted to get rid of it. I'm really trying my best to not be distracted by Diggy being a green screen, and Justin is still doing the thing. Have you guys seen my tweet?
I did. I saw it. I really got a kick out of it. I really enjoy it.
And now Diggy's just a green screen. So we're only going to go for another 5 minutes anyways. Tuto says, salute all NYG Paisano. Drop by your office to pay our proper respects and for all Giants fans around the world. Slap all stinky Eagle fan losers. I love Tuto. I want to know. I need to know. Tuto, I think he's coming to the Eagles game. Maybe. I want to find out more about him. Because this man just throws money around in these chats like it's nothing.
He said he comes from Italy every year to fight Eagles fans with like.
And I heard that's like real. Like people joke on like no, they like actually show up and they're like a gang.
He said they're all like 6'7" and 240.
Yeah, so I mean, I want to join in with them. Maybe they'll help me burn down MetLife.
Doesn't he play rugby?
They'll just have Bobby in the back, and he just won't say anything.
Yeah, seriously. I'll start fights for them. Like, get this guy, Tuto, get these guys on him. Let's see. New York Jets says I saw Kadarius Toney in college. He was a stud. Dude, wow, that is big. Call more of the Yankees offense play or our classic Chucky Spider Y2 banana. Here's something that kind of annoys me, Diggy, is that John Gruden gets like credit for the Spider 2Y banana when that is run at every level of football. Like every high school team runs the Spider 2Y banana. It's like you install it on the day one. It's like play action, fullback in the flat, tight end on a corner, and then a clear out go route that it's like you're probably never going to throw to. It's just something that's always stuck in my craw. It's like
John Gruden might be one of the more. I thought he was overrated, but I kind of actually like what he's doing.
He's a good offensive play caller. It's just team building. They gave him too much power of team building.
Yeah.
And sometimes when teams take chances in the draft that go off the board, I kind of like, you know what? Just because all us dumb idiots like say that Cleveland Farrell should take it 4. It's like, well, what if they end up being right? But it's like, well, now Cleveland Farrell's inactive for them. And Alex Leatherwood hasn't looked very good. So it's like, you know what? And Damon Arnett, he sucks right now. So it's like, you know what? Maybe the draft people, the top draft guys.
It's like he's picking bad players and then coaching them up to be better than how bad that they were.
Yeah. So I want to love John Gruden because I think he's just a funny character.
Yeah.
But it's like they do so many weird things. It's crazy that Antonio Brown never played a snap for them. Like that story doesn't get talked about. I guess it got talked about a ton in the moment, but that was like the weirdest thing. See someone just like sabotage their whole career.
It was his foot, and then it was his helmet.
Yeah, it's just like I'm not playing with this helmet. It's like, come on,
the next
dude.
is
I mean, I guess I'm dealing with something similar with Kyrie right now. I'm just trying to ignore it until the games actually start.
It's hilarious.
I'm like, dude, I just want to see you play, man. Like, I just want to see you play basketball. It's like we. And this is the most like, you sound like a spoiled like idiot right now, but it's like. Am I crazy for saying that we could not have Kyrie and still win the championship? Like, I still like if Kyrie didn't play a game this year, I still feel confident the Nets will win the finals. Like that's as long as Harden and KD stay healthy.
That's the big if. I think James Harden is really like cursed. I think he's cursed.
Don't say that. I just wanted one championship as a Nets fan. I don't care if we bought it. It's the only sports team I've had that has never won a championship.
All of my teams have won.
So I know you're LSU for college. Where are you at with the other pro teams?
Lakers, Nationals.
National. No, so you just got.
Man,
you had a good couple years. Nationals and Nationals.
Yeah, it's been pretty
Nationals.
fun.
I just said Nationals and Nationals. Lakers and Nationals.
When I tell people like all of my favorite teams, they're just like, "How did you do that? Like, where?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
It's everywhere. Like, I just basically I live in DC, and pretty much everyone in DC, like most people in DC, are Cowboys fans. I didn't want to be a Cowboys fan. I didn't really like Washington, so picked the Giants. For the Lakers, I just always liked Kobe as a kid, so I picked the Lakers and just.
Kobe made a lot of Lakers fans.
Yeah. For
LSU, I have a question.
Do you think Kobe's better than LeBron?
Okay, hold on. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't want to get into that argument because
I don't want to either. I think it's. I think you Kobe people are the craziest people on earth who say he's better. Like, and I'm not a LeBron better than Jordan guy. I actually hate the LeBron Jordan debate. Like, I think I just don't enjoy
it's really
it.
Stupid.
I don't enjoy it. So, but I had this dumb joke that only I thought was funny. And when I used to do a show called Simple Man Radio, we interviewed a bunch of NFL players like Latimer, like a few Giants on there too.
Yeah.
And I'd always finish every single one off like, who's the GOAT, LeBron or MJ? Because we joked that we would never actually do that debate on the show. So every single person we had on, like we had musicians and stuff on, and we'd be like, like who's the GOAT, MJ or LeBron? And it is wild how many people would say Kobe. It blows me away how you Kobe people are the craziest people on earth who say Kobe's better than LeBron. But like you said, I don't want to do the debate. I just want to throw shots at you.
All right, here's my question. Are you like in DC or are you just outside of DC and you say you're from DC?
No, listen. See, I can definitely understand that. But right now I've just moved outside of it. But my entire childhood up until I was 24, I was in DC.
I lived in DC in 2018.
I'm 5 minutes away.
So in 2018, the fall of 2018, I lived in DC. And there was a Giants bar in DuPont Circle, and I forget what it was called. But I liked it there. And my favorite thing was I sat down and I said, can I get a Taylor ham sandwich? And it was on the menu, like Taylor ham, Giants bar. It's like that's like a New Jersey thing, and it made my life. It made my life.
Yeah.
What is a Taylor ham? Isn't it just like ham, egg, and cheese?
Listen, I don't want to get into it. It's Taylor ham versus pork roll. You are originally from New Jersey. You should be familiar with.
I know I'm busting your ball. I did a Reddit AMA today, and one person's like, "Why do you say you would hate to live in New York, New Jersey so much?"
Yeah, good question.
And I basically just said like it's less about hating up there; it's more about me loving down here, and my family's down here. That's honestly.
How did that go today? By the way,
went pretty well. I mean, yeah, it went well. You forget how like I sat there and answered questions, and I feel like, man, it just went an hour and a half went by.
Any weird questions?
There are lots of amateur vids on YouTube by others at link, but they're removed immediately. Can you see how we erect the entire section for link and a blank? Send me those videos. I will try and get those posted on social media or something. I'll do it from the Simple Man Radio account, which we just talked about. That's the account where it's like I could just put all the stuff I don't want to put from my personal account on. All right, well, so we're at a little over an hour, so we'll go. Let me put Diggy's link in the chat again for people to subscribe. Make sure to subscribe to his channel. Watch all his videos after you watch ours. So what's your prediction for Giants Cowboys? We're going to save ours for our previous show, but what's your prediction? I've been looking at a green screen for the last 20 minutes. Credit to me for not bringing it up more than 7 times.
Yeah, I just saw that video you posted. It looks crazy too. But I'm guessing that the Cowboys will win 33-30.
I'll take scoring 30.
I won't take scoring 30 if we lose, but I think the Giants are going to have to score 35 points to win this game.
I agree. And if Joe Judge and them don't go into this game like trying to win like a shootout and just trying like we're going to play our game, it's going to be so depressing.
If he does that, we'll put up like 13 points.
They say adapt or die. You have to see what this Dallas team does and realize you need to win this game. And you have to expect to win in a shootout. And if you get a few turnovers and some stops on defense that are unexpected, awesome. But you have to go into this game expecting a shootout.
Yeah. And we have to make sure that we don't turn over the ball. We cannot turn over the ball. Yeah. And they lead the league in turnovers. We cannot turn over the ball.
The Saints had 6 interceptions in the first 3 games, and I hate doing this disclaimer on it because Jones had the Hail Mary interception, but it's like Jones didn't throw an interception versus them, so it's like it should honestly be talked about more. Like it's not even just even as like a credit to Daniel Jones, like how insane it is that since that Tampa Bay game he hasn't thrown an interception. That was his fault. It was one off Evan Ingram's hands, which would have which was like
a Hail Mary.
Yeah, it's like essentially he has not thrown an interception since that Monday Night Football game last year. That was before the election last year. Like I remember that was the day before the election last year was the last time Daniel Jones threw an interception. That was his fault.
For the election. Can we talk about the turnover prone quarterback in this division that just had another fumble loss this last game? Jalen Hurts. Like this.
He's bad.
He fumbles at a much higher rate than Daniel Jones did when he was fumbling at his best. So I don't understand how Eagles fans continue to type Danny fumbles on Twitter when they have a quarterback that's fumbling at the highest rate in NFL history at this point.
Yeah, Jones fumbles like his rookie year were like at 18 and 12 games, like it was an insane level.
And but now Jalen Hurts is going to break that if he fumbles at the same rate that he's doing now.
Is he really? That's insane. And I think something that happened with is like Jones's interceptions were always kind of like okay. He had 12 his rookie year, which wasn't great, but it's like for a rookie year, like if he didn't have the fumbles, I don't think anyone would be talking about his like, oh my, look at all these interceptions he throws. It was just they all got bunched into one, and I don't think interceptions like, and that's what's so frustrating about the fumbles. Not necessarily that they happen. It's like how do you evaluate a guy who fumbles? Like it's like it has nothing. It's just he fumbles. Like it's not about decision making.
How about you protect him? How about you protect him?
Yeah, it's true, but it's so frustrating. Like after the Broncos game, it's like what am I supposed to say? Like just stop
don't
fumbling.
Do
like,
it.
It's not gonna. Yeah, it's not gonna be like
stop.
Fumbling is not gonna be the difference of me disliking or liking. Like, it's gonna come down to pocket manipulation, throwing the ball downfield, interception and stuff. It's like I don't understand. I don't know. I feel bad because like I don't know how to factor in fumbles into the equation. And like Justin said, it's like what am I supposed to say in a podcast after he fumbles? Like stop fumbling. Just stop.
Yeah.
Don't.
Don't
it's
you
not
hit
like
those stats that they use against Daniel Jones though, like this many fumbles and interceptions since he's gotten into the league. And then they say like he has as many turnovers. It was like something in like little writing. He has as many turnovers as Ryan Leaf, his first blah, blah, blah amount of games. And they like had something and like small font that kind of disqualified Peyton Manning from the discussion because he had more turnovers than Daniel Jones did in that amount of time. Like the stats that they have come up to discredit Daniel Jones are worse than the stats they come up with to credit Aaron Rodgers. I've seen like a stat saying like Aaron Rodgers is 15-0 when it's 70 degrees and a light rain outside or something. Like
those stats I used to see those a lot more. I think SportsCenter got away from them because they're making fun. Everyone's making fun of them.
Exactly.
One of my favorite ones was like, remember that when Brady got suspended, Garoppolo won versus the Cardinals, and it was like Jimmy G joins a list of some elite players to win their opening game versus the Cardinals, and it was like Joe Namath and like Roger Staubach. It's like what? And I think that might have been the end of ESPN doing those Instagram. I'm not on Instagram as much anymore, so I guess I don't see them as much. How excited
are you to see Joe Buck and Troy Aikman for this game?
I will give Joe Buck. What bothers me is like he clearly loves Jason Garrett because he's a Cowboys guy. You know, that's the only thing that bothers me. Or not Joe Buck, Trey Aikman. Joe Buck has gotten better, but he used like. I mean, you listen to Joe Buck's call in the Super Bowl 42. It's like, dude, did you not watch the same play that I just watched? Like, you know, it's like I watched announcers who get excited over like 8-yard slants, and like you saw the craziest play in Super Bowl history, and you just acted like it was.
Joe Buck is the most exciting, boring commentator I've ever seen. Like his go-to is like, wow. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
I feel like I've just gotten so used to him at this point where it's like I just accept it.
Well, his reasoning is he wants to let the moment breathe. But
I remember he said that. Yeah.
It just doesn't mesh well when you're talking over the moment in a non-enthusiastic way. It doesn't mesh well. There has to be a happy medium.
Yeah.
Just the Tyree catch was that was the most, and even early in the playoff, that Amani Toomer touchdown at the Dallas round week 2, like started the game off with an 80-yard touchdown, and he just acted like it was a garbage time touchdown. It's like, come on, dude, like this is kind of a big moment. The only time
he gets excited is when Aaron Rodgers throws touchdowns. Yeah, he actually gets excited.
Yeah. So I wanted to finish it off with this. We were talking, the turnover things. Rookie QBs have been pretty good lately of having more touchdowns than interceptions, or being like having really good years. This year's rookie crop is kind of like bringing it back to earth, where like Trevor Lawrence's TD interception ratio sucks, Zach Wilson sucks, Justin Fields I don't think is great, and he's struggling with setting protections and stuff. Mac Jones is very boring, like check down, and then Trey Lance isn't playing, so he doesn't count. But it's like we're gonna start getting the Peyton Manning stuff again, where that comparison went away. But anyways, we're at an hour 10 minutes. We'll go. For some reason, I want to watch this NL wildcard game. So, yeah, thank you, Diggy, for joining. Make sure to
subscribe. Having me on.
And I am usually this like screen thing right now would piss me off and it would totally throw me off the rails. But I've done a good job. So credit to me.
Good job. You're a professional.
I mean, Justin, you're still doing the.
You probably enjoy that because it looks like it doesn't look like I'm in pain.
It looks like you're like one of those chatter like skull like bobbleheads that they put on their cars.
That's fun.
On like the dashboard.
I'm sure you got a kick out of it.
Yeah, good tweet. All right, we see you guys. Thanks, Diggy.
All right.
Thanks, Justin, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Check out our stat report, O-line report, film review, mailbag podcast, and then Friday's the game preview, which is what's the most fun episode. Thank you guys for helping us get to a top 10 football podcast. I feel like a good flex. We got to 1,000 reviews, so thank you everyone who's been supporting, and we'll see you on Friday's preview pod.